Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Folks, we talk every week that the digital world is loud and crowded. So you need professionals on your side to help you get your message out to your current clients and your future clients. Folks at Oak City Tech can help you with a number of things. Please go to oakcitytech.com. Tell them what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning, and each week here on Triangle BNI, we bring you a local small business success story. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle is Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. Each week, about 31 chapters and almost 600 members get together, and our goal is to help each other grow their business. And our small business success story today is Jeanetta Hopkins, owner of Bull City Music School. Jeanetta, glad to have you here today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, you have skills that most of us would pay for because you can sing, you can play an instrument, you probably have a wonderful ear. Where does that come from?
Well, all of the above that you said is correct, except for the singing. That one skipped over me, but I definitely can hear it. So, really, all of this is one, God-given talents, and then two, it was honed by my family. So, I come from a line of musicians that date as far back as my great grandmother.
And so, real quick, Jeanetta's in RD20. It's Bridge to Success. Right now, they meet via Zoom Tuesdays at 8:30. But when we get back in person, they are in Mebane, and we'll be meeting at the Iron Skillet. So if you're in the Mebane area, want to meet some wonderful people like Jeanetta, please go there, and I know they will welcome you. Uh, Bull City Music School, you and I talked. We've not known each other that long. And we had a one-to-one a couple of weeks ago, which made me want to bring you on the show because you have wonderful stories. And we talked, I asked you, there's no music skills in my family whatsoever. I grew up listening to music. So my mom got me listening to Glenn Miller and the big orchestras back in the day. And I like country music. I'm a huge fan of the 80s music. I don't think you were born quite yet then, but there's some really bad, good songs from the 80s. Do we need to be, how much do we need to be exposed to it? Is it genetic? How do we come across these?
Some of it could be genetic, could be, and I say that very loosely because my mother doesn't have a musical talent. My father was exposed to it, and he actually comes from the musical family. But environment does play a big part. So I say everybody, one, has a God-given talent. That's one, and then two, environment can play a part in anyone's upbringing and their musical taste.
Do you remember the first genre of music or some of the first artists that you were exposed to from your parents and grandparents and other family members?
Motown.
Oh, nice.
Motown. It was Motown and Stax Records because I'm from Memphis, so it goes without saying Stax Records. And then there was the church on Sunday mornings, so it could easily range from Gladys Knight, James Brown, Isaac Hayes, then Reverend James Cleveland. So it was this wide mix of music that I got exposed to. And then between different church styles of music. So if I went to church with my grandmother, her church is what we call high church. So that's going to be your more traditional church with, the anthems and a mixture of spirituals versus when I was at the church that I grew up in, which was a Baptist church, you had more of your traditional gospel music that was played. So to sum it up, my background in music comes from church, Motown, and then you throw in classical music and all of this. And that's my background.
If there is one Motown act you could have seen live, who would that have been?
Why it's got to be one?
Okay, give me two or three. That's fine.
Diana, okay, Diana Ross is definitely going to be one.
Okay.
I love Diana Ross. And then the second, it's going to be Stevie Wonder.
Wow. Yep. Yep. I just sense there's about 2.5 hours of energy at his shows. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, you started Bull City Music School a little over 6 years ago. Your Most people would think it's a music school, which it is, but this is very much part of raising kids and growing and building confidence with them, isn't it?
Most definitely. And it comes from my experience being a classroom music teacher. No matter what the subject matter is, students, if they don't have the confidence, whether to read, to do math, science, it just all goes out of the window because the immediate mindset will be, I can't do this. And with that, I said, when I build my own music school, one of the main things that I want to instill in these kids is confidence. You don't have to be the absolute best, like on your way to Carnegie Hall or you're headed to Juilliard, but I need you to know that you can be the best that you can be. So if you can only play this song hand separately, but you play it beautifully hand separately, then that's confidence that's built in you and recognizing what you can do.
Do most of your students come to your school having already been playing an instrument?
It's a mixture. When I first started, it was all beginners. And then as I got more established, I started getting in a mix of students.
Do you like when a student comes to you and says, I don't know what I want to play, but I want to learn an instrument?
Absolutely, because that's the tabula rosa. That's it. That's that completely like blank slate. And I get calls like that all the time. And I tell the parents the one good thing about when you enroll in Bull City Music School is we are a multi-teacher school. So if you want to try piano this month, that's good. And your child may say, okay, this really isn't for me. Let me go try guitar. We have, as long as we have it under our roof, it's easy to move around till you decide what the instrument that speaks to you. And parents say, well, my child, I want them to focus on this. I say, expose the child to the different instruments. If your child is saying, I'm interested in 3 different instruments, rotate through and they'll know which ones that they gravitate towards.
As a teacher, how long does it take you to realize, oh, this student kind of has a knack for this particular instrument?
So that really really varies. With them, I look at a couple of factors. I look at how well they pick up the musicality of it, like how well they take to understanding like notation. That's like being able to understand the notes on the staff, being able to um, read the rhythms, and then one big factor for me is I look at their dexterity. So different instruments require different dexterity, and I have made suggestions to parents and say, not right now, maybe later, go work on these things and then come back.
Is it hand-eye coordination you're talking about?
Definitely hand-eye coordination. Definitely. I mean, most people think, sports, hand-eye coordination, you got to be able to catch a ball. But when you think in terms of playing the piano, your eyes are on the music, and then your hands can easily be playing 2 different rhythms at the same time. And if your music requires pedaling, you have your foot going.
My favorite band members to watch are the drummers because they'll have both hands going, at least one foot going, and I have no idea how they keep them all in sync.
And that's all a part of the coordination, piece of it, because for whatever reason, some kids are, even adults are a little bit delayed. Those areas may, have just not developed from childhood, or they could have been in an accident, and they're working to restore like those parts of their brain that control the dexterity that they need for that particular instrument. And I will suggest, I was like, maybe because you don't have this part right here, and I don't want you becoming frustrated, let's try. And a lot of times I refer people back to the piano to come back to versus let's say like the violin, because with the violin, you got to hold it here, holding with your left hand, then you got a bow that's going here. And what's required, and then you got your fingers going, so you're holding with your neck, left hand fingers are going, right hand holding the bow. Oh, we haven't started reading music. So I try to, my go-to instrument is the piano because you can learn one instrument at a time, and then it doesn't require you to breathe like what you would have to do for a wind or brass instrument.
When we were talking the first time, the biggest musical takeaway for me was the teamwork in a band or a quartet. And we're talking about this. And I jokingly asked you, so if you're playing one instrument and you look at me with a little head nod and your eyes kind of roll a little bit, that's a signal to me that lets me know, okay, that's me going off on my own for a minute. But I was fascinated by the teamwork and the little delicate motions that band members make to each other to let the other ones know, okay, here's what's about to happen.
Oh, yes. And I have a little small string ensemble that I put together for my students. And we've been working on a performance that's coming up next Sunday. And they learned quickly communication. I was like, huh? What? You mean, what do you mean we communicate when we're playing? I said, it's called nonverbal communication. And I said, everybody has a role in what they do. So I explained, like, okay, here's what the first violin does. Here's the role of the second violin. Here's viola. Here's cello. And this is like how we get started, with the piece, who sets the tempo. And I said, you got to look around. Make sure you have eye contact with everybody so that we're going to all start together. Like, okay, 1, 2, and they're like, wow. And I've started stepping away and saying, okay, turn to my first violin student and say, okay, take it away. Stand up, tune the orchestra. And everybody has to sound just alike in your tuning. So your A cannot register a little bit higher than the first violin's A, how it's got to like all be the same. And yesterday they learned about balance. So it's like listening and equate that to a life skill, talking over people. Let them talk. Listen first. Now let's, and they're like, oh. So I said, these are the life skills. So going back to that whole confidence and, goal setting, like this is what I want students to walk away from when they take music lessons at Bull City Music School.
When you find students that are enjoying music and excelling to whatever level they are, is there a correlation with uh, subjects they're good at in school?
I tend to think so. I haven't done any research and I'm just basing it on, my days of being in the classroom as a general ed teacher, but I tend to believe so. And those that I see that really, really do well, they are already driven. So they have that self-drive, they have the work ethic that's needed, and they understand what perseverance means. So they know if I want to achieve a superior rating at solo and ensemble, okay, here are the steps that I need to take. That I'm not just going to wake up and be fabulous. And they know that because of their high achieving grades. I also have seen it on the flip side with a student who was um, low achieving in their academic areas, but they excelled so well in their arts that the academics caught up. So I've kind of seen it both ways, but and then I've seen the students who they have talent, but they have zero drive. And so that talent only gets you but so far. And it's the same way with their grades. So my unscientific answer is I think there is some direct correlation.
Since we know there is counting involved in music, do you have to be a good math student to have music talent? Good.
Not at all. You need to be able to count to 4. You be able to count to 4.
Most
Sometimes
of us, yep,
6.
most of us can get there. On your website, you have the line, "We are the modern approach to music." What does that mean?
When I wrote that, I had one meeting. Then the pandemic happened and it took on another meeting. When I said we are the modern approach to music, meaning that we don't follow a strict traditional teaching model of music, that it is hybrid, and that in this hybrid model, it's inclusive of other psychologies and methods of teaching your pedagogy, basically. And we look at the total child. We look at their social emotional, where they are. That's the first thing we do before you start a lesson. I've trained all of my teachers. Before you start a lesson, talk to your students. Find out how was their day, how was their weekend. Start with that social emotional first. And then you can move on. So we address the social emotional. How's the child going, doing? And then our blend of teaching is based on how that child learns. So we don't expect everybody to fit into one mold. So that's moving away from the traditional, here's your method book. Okay, you got to follow, 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 because we're going to get students who have visual processing disorders, who have auditory processing. They may be autistic. They may have severe ADHD. So you have to look at who that child is, how they learn, and then adapt your teaching that's going to be successful for that child. So I have a student highly, when I say highly visual, like more than the norm. And so when I get ready to teach a new concept, I have the board ready and I isolate that concept. And we may have to go over it about 3 lessons, but that's how that child learns. So that's meeting the child where they are. And that's modern now because that's the new way of teaching. And we also incorporate technology into our lessons. This was pre-pandemic. Now, pandemic took on a whole new meaning when we said we're the modern approach, because we went from face-to-face lessons to everything being online. And that's the new modern approach to music.
And I like the fact that you asked your students, how was their day? How was their week? And we do that with our clients as well, because that will tell you pretty much how the next hour is going to go. And are they focused? Did
Mhm.
something tough happen over the week? So I'm glad you asked that to understand kind of are how focused they are.
That's so true, and especially like with the entire virtual learning, and the schools, either you're in this week or you're out or you got to be home. Especially with a lot of the back and forth, the children just want to know: is this my safe place? Do I have some consistency here? Can I just be me? And that has been so important, because one of my students, she told me at the start of the lesson, she said, Miss Jeanetta, my brain is just fried today. I love piano, but my brain is fried, and you're going to make me use my brain. So that let me know right then. A, don't start a new concept with this child today. B, let her talk for a minute. Let her cool down coming from school. And she talked about it. And I said, well, how you feel about, let's at least go over some scales. Let's keep that. She said, okay, I can do that. All right. And we had a lesson.
Very nice. We're here with Jeanetta Hopkins, owner of Bull City Music School. Jeanetta's an RD20 Bridge to Success. They meet Tuesdays at 8:30 in the morning. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. One of the things you're going to need, folks, is a good website, because you need to be found. And when you meet somebody, you want to send them to their website. Most of us look for websites to see if people are for real, and you want something there. You don't need a $100,000 website, but you need something up there that's going to explain to people who you are and what they do, so you can connect with them even more. So go to oakcitytech.com. Let them know what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you. All right, Jeanetta, you got a Bachelor of Music from Jackson State. Now, I don't want to brag on you too much and call you an overachiever, but sorority, honor society, university choir, university orchestra, really? You're making a lot of us look bad. Did you have enough things to do, or was there just a few more things that weren't on the list that I missed?
Um, no, I didn't have enough to do. I didn't, because one of the things that I wanted to do when I was in college was study abroad, and I went to study music abroad. And there wasn't too many opportunities for that. So I said, that's okay. I still have breath in my body. I will go abroad and study music.
What I found interesting, and I always like doing research on guests coming in because I always like to learn and ask. Have an inquisitive mind. You grew up right outside Memphis,
Actually, in the city limits of
in the
Memphis.
city limits, Germantown. I keep forgetting is in the city. Yes. You went to Jackson State for undergrad, and yet you ended up at Seton Hall for your MBA program. How did that happen? And you got a master's of science in professional counseling and mental health counseling, and here you are, you're a music teacher. So let's start with how you get from how do you get to Seton Hall for your master's program?
Well, um, I started my degree there. I did not finish it. Um, I actually wanted to just change careers altogether because it's really hard finding a job in music. And this was before I started the music school. And I was really burned out. I was really frustrated being, in the school systems, and every year not knowing if I'm ever going to have a job. And when I taught elementary school, when I lived in Florida, I taught third and fifth grade 3 of the 4 years that I was there. And I got tired of that, never knowing, okay, how I got to change, how I got to flip on a dime. So I said, let's go for the mental health counseling. This is be a little steady. And about 3/4 of the way through the program, I just didn't want to do it. So I didn't finish. So I have graduate coursework there. I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to go back to music. And this time, let me just make my own way. And that's how the music school got started.
When you started teaching, what were your first couple of classes that you taught?
So, fresh out of college, I was a December graduate. I was teaching at an elementary school for that spring semester, and that was teaching elementary music. And I knew that was a short term position. And then I went through my nomad years of life, and so I moved and I went to Texas. And there I taught social studies because there were no music positions available. I stayed there for a year and I came back to Tennessee. And that's when I was teaching high school music. And again, I found myself outside of my comfort zone. It was music, but it was vocal music. And my student teaching, I had to do vocal music and I had to take vocal classes. So I was equipped to do it. Did a good job. I mean, we won every competition we went to. We placed high, superior ratings for my concert choir, show choir, and then we did my magical choir. We had a sold out dinner theater show. Did well, but it just wasn't where my heart was. I could do it, but it just wasn't where my heart was. I still wasn't fulfilled. And then became a mother, and my life centered around my children and what they were doing. But I miss teaching piano because I started teaching piano when I was like 13 in the living room of my home. The little girl I was babysitting was like my first student, and doing recitals in my living room. And it's funny now that she sent me a message and was like, so Miss Jeanetta, are you ready to teach my child? I was like, well, no, because that says that I've gotten older because I was babysitting you when I was 13. And wait a minute, you have a child. No. Um, and that's what brought me joy. And I started teaching again with my children crawling around. And um, I went back into the school systems and see, where was I teaching then? No, I still wasn't teaching music. I was like, I'm doing this job because I have to do it. Was I good at it? Yes, but it wasn't my heart. And then I finally got into, because I was like, I don't care what school it's at. I have to be back in music in the classroom. And I took a music teaching position job at one of the schools that had the lowest SES socioeconomic status. I mean, everything, all odds stacked against them. And I said, I don't care. It's music. Let's go. And while I was fulfilled teaching, it opened my eyes to what I didn't know at that time was going to be the whole basis for my nonprofit years down the line. I mean, that wasn't even on my radar to have a nonprofit, but I had to go through those experiences at that school and see that, okay, that was a purpose for me being there.
And you find with small business owners, there are those building blocks that they meet someone or some place. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, so this stuff is starting to make sense. When did you first literally start putting on paper your plans for the music school?
That happened my last year of teaching in the school system when the bookkeeper called me into the office and said, "Here's your budget for the year." And I looked at that paper. I said, "Somebody playing. Somebody playing. Oh, I know this is not my budget for a whole year." She said, "Yeah, this is your budget for a whole year." I was like, "I spend more money at Target than with this budget. And you want me to teach three different grade levels?" And it was a budget of $200 to teach grade 6, 7, and 8 piano. I said, "You know what? I'm done. I'm done. I cannot do this anymore." And it was at that point, I said, if I'm gonna work this hard and if I'm gonna scuffle and the money's gonna be tight, at least let me go out here and work instead of being told, "Oh, this all you got." And then having a time when you say, "Okay, well, let me fundraise, let me get some more money and let me do this." And it's a whole lot of back and forth. I said, I don't do well with a whole lot of back and forth. And that's when the plans started happening. On my lunch break, anytime I didn't have kids, I'm like, $200, $200 motivation.
And
200.
that was your salary above and beyond your teacher pay?
What, the $200?
Yeah.
No, that was my budget to teach. So if I needed any materials to teach those children, I was supposed to get blood from a turnip out of $200.
When you were telling me when you first before you gave the $200 number, my first thought was, okay, my follow-up question, did the number have a comma in it? But you answered that it did not. It's like, oh, okay, I get it now. What were the first couple things that had to happen to start the music school?
Well, it was space. Where was I going to teach space? My English bulldog has entered the room to say hello. It was finding space. Like, where am I going to do this at? Am I going to teach from home? I really didn't want to teach from home because I've been doing this long enough and I have a family. I was like, I need to keep things separate. So it was one, finding a space, and then finding a space that would fit my budget.
And all the supporters along the way, did you have enough of them at the right time in the right place?
Well, at that time, it was where I had to learn. I had to believe in me. My husband said, "All right, I'm gonna push you. So if this is what you want to do, let's do it." And then I just let, close friends know and social media, "Hey guys, I'm going to start teaching lessons. If you know anyone that, wants to learn, here I am." And that's just really how I started, word of mouth, because I had nothing. It was just nothing.
We are here with Jeanetta Hopkins, owner of Bull City Music School. Jeanetta's in BNI chapter RD20. They meet Tuesday mornings at 8:30 in Mebane. If you're ever in the Mebane area right now, it's all on Zoom. When they get back meeting in person, I think you guys are going to go back to the Iron Skillet, but good group of folks in Mebane, so please check them out. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Folks, mailing lists, social media, you name it, you need professionals doing that. Social media is not easy. We think it is, like, oh, let me just create this one little thing and post it. But you have to have consistency. And so that's where you need the pros like Oak City Tech. Go to oakcitytech.com. They'll be able to help you. Tell Drago that we said hi. All right, Jeanetta, one of my favorite questions for married guests
Mhm.
is your husband's name is Kevin.
Yes.
So I always like to know, how did you meet? And you both tell the story the same way.
Yeah, we do. He actually was the school resource officer assigned to my school. And um, that's really how we met. We can't be more opposites than each other. If we have to equate each other to, and this we really do, to crayons. black and white, and I'm all the other colors in the box. And then his newest one is like using the analogy to describe us using lawn equipment.
Interesting.
Yes. So he says that he's the lawnmower. He goes up, down, up and down the arches, up and down. And I'm the what's the thing that blows all the leaves around, the leaf blower. And I'll just walk out there and whoo, blow it all up, get it all together. So that's a way of kind of describing us. He's the straight and narrow, and I'm kind of like, well, we may have to take. We know we're going to take path A, but along the way, we may have to take C, D, jump over to J, but we'll come back and get the goal.
And it sounds like one of my favorite reasons to do a show like this and other podcasts are I know what interstate I'm starting on. I can't wait for the first off ramp. And it sounds like you're kind of the same way. It's like, man, I don't know what we're going to see, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I was like, let's just go for it. My husband's thing is, what's your plan? What's your well, here is my plan. He's like, what's for dinner today? Oh, we'll see how the wind blows today. And then he'll just so we'll get fed, but
Now, you have a big music festival coming up, the Claxton Powell Music Festival. I'm going to get to what we talked about before we came on the air, but first, what's the source of this music festival?
source like
How did it come about, and why the name Claxton Powell?
so it came about because I've launched the nonprofit and I needed to have a signature fundraiser. So that's how I came about. Got to raise the money, make the nonprofit work. And I wanted it to be meaningful. I didn't just want to have just a willy-nilly way of raising money and say, oh, here's what we did. Me personally, I just don't operate that way. If I can't connect to it, like I've said, with the different jobs, was I good at it? Yeah, but did it really talk to me? Was it in my soul? No. So I needed something with meaning. And I said, you know what? It's always been about family with me. Let's keep it here. Family. So Claxton is my paternal. So this is on my father's side of the family. His grandmother, which is my great grandmother, that was their family name. And that's where the music started in our family. So it was my great grandmother, Joy, her brother, Roselle, which we call Jack. And then there was some other siblings, but these were the ones that were heavily into music. So she taught him. Uncle Jack later went on to become toured, in which I didn't know this one until my dad told me yesterday, that he, in fact, did play with Count Basie. I didn't know that part. But I know heavily, the highlight of his entire career was playing for Pearl Bailey. That was a highlight. That was the one I remember as a child watching on TV when they were at the White House. Ronald Reagan was president, so I just told my age. And watching this performance, like, that's actually like my uncle. And it's something now, I just found the footage, so I'm going to put it on the website. But the significance there, other than, okay, this is the start of music in my family, is my uncle's reasoning for leaving Memphis. And it was purpose. This was during times of segregation. He said, look, my hands were not meant for sharecropping. He knew he had a greater purpose. He said, I'm not going to let my dreams, my skill sets go to waste just to be a sharecropper. He left Memphis and went to Chicago and stayed for a long time, and touring. And he went about his own life. He said, I'm not going to be defined by this. And so that's where I'm at. I've had a lot of things, in my teaching career. So I'm not going to be defined by this. You're not going to push me off here. You're not going to put me in a box and expect me to stay there. And that fire trickles through the family. So Claxton is the start. Powell is my maiden name, representing the new generation of musicians that are coming along. And my father tells me all the time, he says, Mimi and Mama and Jack, all of them, he goes down the list, we all have those family names, are so proud of you because I was the one that kept the tradition of playing going. And with the opportunities that were afforded to me to make sure that I continued on, didn't always come easy. They didn't, or financially it was a sometimes it was a strain to because I got to that level of music where I'm traveling. There's different events and things that I need to participate in, and times did get hard. But I see things in myself that I also see in other children. And one story that I'm going to share here is when I first started with piano, I didn't have a piano in my home. I would have to go to like my grandmother's house or her sister's house, or we would practice after church because we didn't have one in the house. But I was so determined to practice. I had a paper keyboard, and that was how I practiced, and I would go over it. And that's the determination, that's that fire. And my parents recognized it, and my grandmother and everybody said, okay, we got to do something about this. And I had some of the absolute best teachers that we could afford. Everybody worked together. My uncle moves back to Memphis, and he pretty much says, all right, all y'all other people, you're fired. I'm teaching her. And I was able to take lessons from my uncle. And whew, he was tough. He was tough, but it paid off. I shared that to say with this nonprofit in Claxton Powell and finding that purpose and that fire, I'm looking for those type of students who like, I don't have it, but I'm gonna figure out a way. Like me, I had that paper keyboard, and this is how I practice at home. I was determined. Anytime, can I stay after church? Can, go over here and practice? And my parents got me a piano. After a while, they said, okay, we got to figure this out. Reconfigured the house. And here comes the piano. And I need to do that for other kids who don't have these opportunities. And that fire is there. They know, look, I have more purpose than this. So here we are, Claxton Powell Music Festival.
And the date of the event is what now?
April 30th to May 2nd. I've called up some of my friends, and even some of the teachers of Bull City Music School are going to be performing, but everyone who is performing has that fire, they have that passion, and they're all just dedicated to the arts. And gotta say, proud to say, one of the performers, that's one of my teachers at Bull City Music School, she just won the Southeastern Region National Association of Negro Musicians piano competition, and she's moving on to the national level. So this great talent, and she's a composer. So her segment is going to be on performing her own works. And electrifying is the word that I'm using to describe everyone, but it's that platform that's given to catapult the next generation.
Now, I assumed your event was either in a building or online, and I was wrong on both counts, correct?
No, you're partially right. It's going to be online.
Okay.
Yes, it's because I wasn't going to let COVID stop me. You hear this?
Well, I know that, but the location of the event is interesting. So tell us how your driveway came about.
Okay, so now that's another event.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that is another event that you're talking about, the one that's going to take place in my driveway
Yes.
next Monday. So the event that's taking place is through a partnership with Bull City Music School and the Chamber Orchestra of the Triangle. And this came about just as COVID was just like really getting into its height. I think this was in March. And I, went to the Chamber Orchestra and I said, we're not going to let COVID stop us. We're going to figure out this, how to make this partnership happen, because I believe in adding value to my students' music experience. And I said, I said, I have beginning string students. I said, but they're at the point where they can begin to play in an ensemble. They said, perfect. This is like absolutely perfect. And the students have worked with the Verona Quartet. We've done sectionals online, made it work. We went into breakout rooms, made it work. It was great. The students loved the experience because it raised like their confidence, like, I'm gonna sit beside a professional. Okay, ooh, let me go work. And they have put in the work. Oh my God, I'm so proud of them. Just the little light bulbs are going on. And they're loving it too. So, we're limited to where we can have performances now. Not too many places are gonna allow you to come inside. And I was determined to not let this experience, you got to tie it up, put a bow on it. I was determined that this experience is going to happen for my kids. Oh, we going to play side by side. And thought about having it at my church out on the front lawn. And I was like, nah, I kind of went back and forth in my head. And then I said, you know what? I was practicing with the kids and it actually came about last week. And I said, you know what? We're going to do it here because it's a beautiful backdrop and we'll keep things very intimate because it's also the kids' first time. So I don't want it so big, the space being too big and they kind of feeling lost. So I said, let's kind of keep it a little intimate. And my neighbors are like absolutely fantastic. Before my husband retired, and they would always check on us and say, are you guys okay? Especially because we had a whole lot of social unrest back during the summer. And they were just really good to us. Are you guys okay? Just supportive. And I said, you know what? Let's do this for them. Let's bring this neighborhood concert. And I told my neighbor, and she said, are you for real? Are you serious? And I sent her the link. She said, here, love it. And I think for me right now, which there's going to become more, a touching part of the story is we have a neighbor who's wheelchair bound. Of course, he already didn't get out much because of limited mobility because of COVID, and now is really limited. She invited him to the concert and said, here, come be my guest, sit in my driveway with me. And he was so honored, like looking, he was like, are you, like, yes, I'm coming out. He's going to come out his house, drive his wheelchair across the street and sit in the driveway. And that's that community that music can build. So we had our rehearsal yesterday. We've got the backdrop of the pond. It's just going to be a great time of music. So that's kind of how that came about in a nutshell.
Then my hunch is, for the little time I've known you, but I'm picking up on little things, is this thing will only grow in cool locations like a driveway, is my sense.
Because I was like, I'm not gonna let this, I'm not gonna let COVID stop me. I'm not. I said, I just gotta think a little differently. So I may have been a plan A, had to jump over to C, had to go to J,
Yep.
but I'm still back to the original goal. We're gonna have this concert and we're gonna make this work. And the kids
Yep.
are pumped because the Verona Quartet, they're of course gonna perform by themselves. So they'll do about 3 songs. Then one of my students she's gonna perform a solo. And then the quartet will join with the students and they're going to perform 2 works together.
And you will put the video of on this up on your website so
Yes.
people can watch it and they can go, what is your website?
So I'm going to put it in 2 places for people to be able to see so they can, get directed. It will definitely be on bullcitymusicschool.com. And then it will also be on our nonprofit's website too, which is Bull City Performing Arts, because we need to bring opportunities like this to other children. And no child should be denied access to a quality and a comprehensive music education. And experiences like this can easily be missed. So we're going to make sure that music ed is equitable and it's accessible. So that's why it's going to be in both places.
And I know your relationship with the community is growing. It takes a lot of support because we always think extracurricular stuff, football or basketball or band, and those kind of get taken care of in a different way. But a school like yours, though, the community support and donations are important because you're always wanting to grow and make sure all the students have everything they need. And they can help you with that on either website.
They sure can. They can go to Bull City Music School and go under like foundation, which is going to direct you to Bull City Performing Arts. And on the page, you can see about some of the programming that we have done, future programming, and then of course there is the donation page for them where they can donate whatever amount that they see fit because every little bit adds up.
working with some folks on different parts of selling and presentations. I always tell them, when somebody's passionate about what they do, you don't need volume because you can see the body language, you can see the lean forward, the laugh, the hands, you know it. And you obviously show that passion for music. It's nice that you're a passionate business owner instead of a business owner about a subject. So we wish you luck with that. I've enjoyed the 2 conversations I've had with you to learn more about your school. I wish you luck with both of your events coming up. I think weather-wise, you're going to be okay for your outdoor concert.
Hope so. We saw that there's a 40% chance of rain, and we're like, let's just say it's early in the week. It
Yeah,
can,
yeah.
I don't know, we're gonna see because we're like, what's back up? So that's something that we're gonna figure out today, like what's gonna be our backup to this. But one thing I would like to add, if I could, really
Sure.
quickly, is that from day one, when I built this music school, when it was just me by myself, I built it on to whom much is given, much is required. So much was given to me and required of me, and I had to make sure that I was given back. So from day one, I was already teaching and building this business with the framework of let me give back. And I always had a student that was on scholarship, always when I was just beginning. So I could have like 3 students, and out of that 3, one of them was going to be on scholarship. And I've continued that model to this day. And so here we are at the nonprofit because I said, okay, we got to be able to reach a few more. Let's cast that net a little bit wider, a little bit wider.
And it takes, no matter what type of extracurricular program or a skill set kids want to pick up, it takes a number of people to be involved with it. It's a great story you have. I always enjoy small business stories of kind of how they got started. That's my favorite part of it, is where did the seed come from? But anyways, I know you're going to have a good event. Hopefully the weather will cooperate on Sunday. But folks, we've been putting Jeanetta's phone number up there. You can also go to bullcitymusicschool.com and let her know how you can help, because it takes a lot of people to do that, especially when equipment is involved. That gets, it costs money to do stuff like that. So please go help her. And Jeanetta, we wish you all the luck moving forward with the school, and I've enjoyed having you on the show today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
And we'll see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.